Hi, this is Mike Zellers, and this is the first lecture for CISS216, Introduction to Web Development. Normally, this would be a live lecture, but because we have off for Martin Luther King Day, I've recorded the lecture in advance. Please go over all the materials in Canvas concerning the syllabus and how the class is going to be run and so on. I'm not going to take the time to go over that in the lecture. What I am going to talk about in this lecture is talking about developing web pages. And we have a web page. Let's just pick anything. Let's look at Lorain Community College's web page, just as an example. All right. What we have is a lot of different things. We have an image. We have some text. We have a headline. We have links. We have a search box. And we have a button. We're going to look at the code, and then we have some images too. We're going to look at the code for this. Web page. We can do so by clicking on View Page Source. So I went there. I'm in the Chrome browser, View Page Source. We can actually see the code that makes up this web page. But if we look at that, we just see a bunch of text. You see a Doctype, HTML, head, bunch of links, some other kind of code. And we get here, we see divs and A's and headers and divs and all that. What does all this mean? All right. Well, web pages consist of a series of what are called tags. And this is an example of a tag right here, div. We'll talk about what that means, what a tag is, and what that means in a minute here. This is another kind of tag, the A tag. This is actually the tag for a link, right? What tags are the way that you as a web developer put code in and mark up your text so that the browser knows how to understand it and knows how to display it. HTML is a language that we're going to be using to start out with, and we'll spend most of the semester on that. We'll also spend a lot of time on CSS, which is cascading style sheets, and we'll spend a little bit of time on JavaScript. But HTML is the main language we're going to use starting out, and that stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Let's look at that one piece at a time. Bring up Word here, Word document. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And what does that mean? First of all, let's look at this in two parts. Hypertext. Hypertext means that our web pages are not just text. They're more than text, or they're hypertext. In other words, we can have images on the page, we can have links, we can have all kinds of other stuff, as we noticed when we looked at LC's web page. Markup language means that the code on the page is marked up. All right. And what do I mean by marked up? I mean, there are tags used. I can't type on this keyboard. Tags used. And what are tags? Tags are things that tell the browser how to display the content. for example, when we were looking at this, we go and view the source again. And we go down to here, for example. What we have right here is an image tag, IMG, and then some more stuff. All right, div, span, P for paragraph, and so on. So what a tag is it's a way of you as a web developer to tell the browser how you want the page to be examined and displayed. So tags start out with the less than sign. They have the name of the tag or the type of tag. So in this case, we'd have a P for paragraph. Then we have the greater than sign. So this is a tag. Specifically, this is a starting tag. Tags normally come in pairs. So for example, if I was going to put a paragraph on a web page, I would do something like this. This is a paragraph. This is a starting tag. This is the ending tag. All right. And the stuff between it is the body of the tag. That's the content of the tag. So that would be the paragraph. The ending tag looks like the starting tag, except it has a slash. And this paragraph, what this means is this paragraph starts here and goes to here. All right. Now there's some extra bits of tags called attributes that we're going to look at, probably not today, but we will look at them that sort of add to this. Let's actually go and make a small web page. So I'm going to close this out of Word because we do not want to be developing our web pages using Word. I'm going to use Notepad++. Notepad++ is a simple text editor that you can download for free. I'm actually going to be using several different languages throughout the semester, or several different text editors throughout the semester. Notepad++ is just one of them. All right. So I'm going to go into Notepad++. And I'm going to start a new document. And then I'm going to put in a series of tags and other content to make up a small, short web page. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that we can see this a little better. All right. The first thing I'm putting on this page is not actually a tag. It is called a declaration. And that is a doctype. A doctype simply tells the browser what kind of document you're dealing with. And in this case, we're saying that we're dealing with an HTML document. And an HTML document is a web page, because HTML is a language that we use to develop web pages. We're going to start out by putting in some tags that exist on every page that we're going to be developing. There's an HTML document tag. There will be at the very end of the document an end HTML tag. So that's going to be on every page that you develop. Also on every page that you develop, there's going to be a head tag and an end head tag. Inside the head tag, there'll be some other stuff. But to start out, we're going to put a title tag. And then finally, we're going to have a body tag. So every page that you develop in this class and going forward in your web development career, it's going to have minimally these tags, or it should. All right. HTML tag that indicates the start and end of the page. All right. The head tag, which contains certain stuff, one of those things being the title of the page. All right. Then finally, we have a body tag where the bulk of the code that describes what the page looks like is going to be. All right. So this is sort of a shell of a web page that you sort of add the rest of the stuff to. So you can use this as a starting point for all your web pages. All right. Each of these is a tag, starting and ending. Notice the way it's written that all of these tags are part of the HTML tag. Why are they part of the HTML tag? Because they exist between the start tag and the end tag. In this case also, the title is part of the head. How do I know that? Because the title starts inside the head tag and ends inside the head tag. The head and the body do not overlap at all. Both the head and the body are part of the HTML tag. Right? This is called nesting of tags. Nesting of tags simply means that some tags are inside of other tags. And when I say inside, what I mean is the starting and ending tag for the nested tag is between the starting and ending tag of some other tag. So the title tag is nested inside the head tag. All right. Tags need to be properly nested. And what does that mean? That means that this is legal because the title tag starts and ends inside the head tag. This is not legal if I were to do this. Because in this case, the title tag starts inside the head tag, but ends outside of the head tag. So that is not legal. When I say it's not legal, what do I mean? Do I mean that someone's going to come and arrest you? Probably not. What I mean is that the page may not display the way that you expect it to. It might display the way that you do expect it to. You might be able to get away with having problems in your web page because browsers, web browsers, understand the HTML language. But if you violate the rules of the HTML language, the web browser sort of has to guess what you want. And sometimes the browser guesses correctly and gives you what you want. Other times the browser will guess incorrectly and not display the page the way you want it to. So the best bet is to follow all the rules of tags, which include them being properly nested. Now, notice that I indented these tags. I indented head because the head is part of the HTML tag. I indented body because the body is part of the HTML tag. I indented title further because the title is contained as part of the head tag. I do this for me. I do this for my purposes. As a web developer, I want to see how these tags are nested. So I do this just to make sure that I've nested them properly. The browser actually doesn't care. You could have all these commands, all these tags on one line if you wanted to. And if they were done correctly, the browser would display them correctly. However, If you go back in and try to change something, if all the spacing and indenting and everything is all on one line, it'll be very difficult to do that properly. Therefore, it's important that you keep your pages organized. And one way to make your page organized and easy to be read is to indent the tags in the way that I've done here. All right. Notice that title is all on one line, the start and end tag, where the head tag, the start tag's on one line, the end head tag is on another line. It doesn't matter how you do that. I could put the head, the title tag, and the end tag up here. I just do it in the way that makes most sense for me and is the most readable for me. A lot of things that you do in software development and web development is to make your code easily read. So therefore, I do this because it's easy. At a glance, I can see what tags are contained within other tags. Now, we're going to talk about a few different tags that go in the body section now. All right. So I'm going to start out by an H1 tag. And I'm going to do a web page about CISS web development courses. H1 stands for heading. And the 1 means that it's the most important heading. It's sort of the main heading. All right. So in this case, everything on the page is underneath this heading. All right. So CISS web development courses is going to be the main heading. Now, the browser by default is going to make that the biggest heading on the page. We actually have 6 levels of headings, H1 through H6. And that doesn't mean that you can only have 6 headings. It means that there's 6 levels. So the top level heading, second level heading is underneath that. Let's say I wanted to have a second section on the page about CISS programming courses. Each of these are sort of a top level heading of their own section. Main heading is CISS development courses for this. The main level heading for the rest of the page is CISS programming courses. I can then put other headings underneath. So I'm going to do an H2 and put CISS 215. This will make more sense when we view this page in a browser. And I'm going to use a paragraph tag. And I'm going to just put in some words here. Notice again, it doesn't matter that I break up and I put this on a different line. I can do it however I want. The browser will figure it out. I could put all of this on one line if I wanted to, but I want to make my page easy to maintain. Notice that the returns, and we'll see this in a minute when we look at this, the returns that I put here have no bearing on how the text is displayed within the web browser. Okay, I'm going to close this paragraph here. And I put the ending paragraph tag. Now I want to go and save it as a web page. How do I do that? And there are other editors that you can use for HTML. One of those is Visual Studio Code, which we'll probably be using that at some point in the year too. But to start out, we're going to do something simple as Notepad++. All right. If you're on the Macintosh, you can use TextEdit, provided that you save the page the correct way. All right. And there are other text editors available both on Windows and on the Mac. So I'll go up here and I'll go File, Save. I have to change that from Save As Type Text to I'm going to save it as an HTML page. And I'm going to put it on the desktop. And I'm going to give it a name, webpage1.html. So I'm going to save it. Whoops, I didn't want to save it there. Put it on the desktop and save it there. All right. When I do that, notice that page appears here. I know I've done that correctly because the web page is showing as the Google Chrome, which is my default browser, icon. I'm going to File Explorer. And I'm going to click on File Name Extensions. That's important to do in web development because if we're just using our computer for Word or whatever, we don't need to see necessarily the file extensions. But the file extensions are the letters that are after the period. So for example, this is called webpage.html. And likewise, when we have images, we want to see if it's image.png or image.jpg or whatever, because we use the full complete name to refer to those if we're putting the tag on the page. So this text is what's in this file. Now to view it in the browser, I simply double click it. And there we go. And we'll put these side by side. Notice that as I make the page narrower, the paragraph resizes itself. All right. Notice the title is My First Page, and we see that up here. My First Page. That's where the title goes on a web page. H1 is CISS Web Development Course. CISS Web Development Course. Notice courses. Notice that that's the biggest font on the page because that's an H1. H1 means top level header, and therefore it's the most important header. And as such, by default, it's made bigger. My H2 is sort of the second level header. You can think of CISS216 as being under web development courses, and therefore it's going to be a little bit smaller. P means paragraph, so therefore it's going to be just a normal size font. And then we have CISS programming courses here. All right. Usually what I do when I'm developing a web page is I will have it open in my text editor. I'll make changes, then I'll come over here and refresh it. So if I wanted to add under programming courses, H2 and I would have other stuff in there as well. And I can save it and hit refresh, and I see the page get updated with the new content that I added. These are both the page. These are two ways of looking at the same page, two views of the same page. The browser is how the outside world is going to see this web page if it was published and put out on the web. This is the actual code. It's sort of what we're seeing behind the scenes. All right. We as developers see this because we're actually getting into the nuts and bolts and changing the text to make it that way. Now, as I said before, if you violate the rules of HTML, unpredictable things happen. In other words, it might work out okay, it might not. Let's see what happens if I forget to close this H1 tag. I'm going to remove that. Absolutely nothing happened. Now, does that mean that you go around and not close your H1 tag? Of course not, because it's unpredictable what's going to happen. What if I forget to have this Untitled tag? What happens? My whole page disappears. Now, why do you think it disappeared? It disappeared because it thinks that everything on the page is part of the title. All right. Notice how the title looks like it has everything on the page, including the other HTML. So by simply forgetting the end title tag, you can make the whole page not appear at all. Put it back in, and there you go. Usually, a couple times a semester, a student will do that. Will forget their title tag and panic, thinking their page has disappeared, and the solution is pretty quick from there. All right. What happens if we put in something that isn't a tag? Let's say if I say header 1 instead of H1. Well, the browser's going to guess at what you mean. And since it doesn't know what a header 1 is, it just displays it like normal text. Whereas if you change it to the proper version, it will display correctly. If you remember to save it. There you go. Save it. Notice that Notepad++ color codes things for you. In other words, proper tags are shown in blue. If I nest something incorrectly, let's see if it does anything to show it. Whoops. Whoa. I honestly don't know what I did there. Clicked on something wrong. Let's reopen that. How do you reopen a page? You simply go here, right mouse on it, say edit with Notepad++, and there we go. I don't know what I did. I must have clicked something wrong. But if I don't have proper ending tag, oh, I did it again. Yeah, it doesn't color code, showing that that's a problem. So it doesn't tell you everything. There are other editors that will tell us, like when later on in the semester when we look at Visual Studio Code, we'll see that it will tell us if there's something wrong with our code. This at least color codes that the tags are done correctly. All right, my suggestion to you before you try to do lab 1 is to just go in and try to recreate this page. In some cases, I'll provide the code examples on Canvas. This one I'm deliberately not, because I want you to go in and try to recreate it yourself. All right, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Live lectures will start next week on Monday from 9 to 9:50. You are not required to attend the lecture. You can watch it synchronously through WebEx, or if you'd rather, you can wait and watch the recording. All right, take care. Let me know if you have any questions.